Hello everyone, this is Magic with Class, coming to you with the third part in this series on the upcoming products scheduled for 2021 in the Magic the Gathering world. So the next product that I want to talk about is the product that's going to be replacing the core set for 2021, and that would be the crossover with Dungeons and Dragons. So instead of a core set for 2021, they're replacing it for at least this year, whether it returns for 2022. I guess they're waiting to see what the sales are like and what the overall response to all of these crossovers will be. So, first, I would like to say that I think the audience, the Magic the Gathering audience, will and fandom will be much more likely to accept these Dungeons and Dragons inspired cards and other crossovers only because Magic the Gathering kind of has roots in Dungeons and Dragons. The original flavor for Magic the Gathering was pretty much taken from the Dungeons and Dragons universe, I would say. So, a crossover with this property, which Hasbro also owns, is not very far fetched. And they even made a Dungeons and Dragon and Magic the Gathering D&D game guide so that you can play Dungeons and Dragons in the Magic the Gathering universe. So if they already did that, it was kind of only a matter of time before they had some Dungeons and Dragons inspired cards in Magic the Gathering, and they've already done that in Silver Border with the card Swords of Dungeons and Dragons, which is a kind of a direct reference. It has you roll a d20, it can create a dragon, so I fully expect some extremely interesting cards in that core set Dungeons and Dragons type crossover. I've been getting a lot of requests for a Beyonder. I've played Dungeons and Dragons before, but I'm not that familiar with the lore. So maybe after this set, I will become more interested again in Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe I'll get a game going. The reason why I don't play Dungeons and Dragons more, and I haven't played for a while, is just the length of the campaigns. Just to create your own character takes such a long time, and then the campaigns can take, weeks, months. So unless you have like a regularly scheduled game night for Dungeons and Dragons, it's kind of hard to just pick up and go. Unlike Magic the Gathering, where I could play like a game in 20 minutes, which I think is the reason why, in part, Magic the Gathering was invented as a quicker game, something that you can take out and play anywhere as well, in short bursts, inspired by some of the same themes as Dungeons and Dragons. I I think that this might be the end of core sets again. They've been trying to put some more valuable cards in the core set. Crucible of Worlds was in a core set. Scape Shift was in a recent core set. In the latest core set, there was Cruel Tutor. So it's not like the core set actually has bad cards in it. I just think people don't like the lack of flavor. There's not usually a story behind the core sets. In the past couple of core sets, they were choosing a planeswalker to lead the set. In the latest core set, it was Teferi. Chandra had two core sets where she was the lead. So, I think they're gonna have to find another product where they can push a singular planeswalker to the forefront. Um, but maybe that didn't prove particularly popular. I know Teferi has had a lot of issues with some of his cards in Dominaria and War of the Spark. So maybe the reception to this set based on Teferi wasn't particularly good. The new Planeswalker that he got in the latest core set was pretty good, but I don't think it's on the level of the one from War of the Spark or the one from Dominaria. But we'll have to see. It still has quite a while left in its standard season, so we may see a really competitive deck using the mono blue Teferi in the future. So I will say about the Teferi, I don't love the fact that it has phasing. That phasing got brought back. I know like phasing is very, very associated with Teferi, so the flavor is very good. But I kind of don't like the use of phasing in the way that they use it right now, which is like to temporarily remove the opponent's stuff. I don't think blue should really get that. I don't think blue should get temporary removal. White, I think that's more like a white thing, so I wouldn't. So if white got that temporary phasing type ability on your opponent's stuff, then I would be more for it, I guess. But I just don't think it's a blue ability. And yes, I know it's very similar to tapping down your opponent's stuff and not having it on tap. But I just feel like I just don't like the flavor of blue removing something. Well, no, I like the flavor behind it. I don't like the mechanics of blue having an ability like that. But getting back to the Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering crossover that's replacing the core set, I really don't know what they're going to do there. Is the whole set, every single card is going to be based on Dungeons and Dragons. They already did Bag of Holding in a core set, so are there enough references that like the average person would know about Dungeons and Dragons that every single card would be a reference? Like how many dragons would there actually be in the set? Would there be a dragon tribal theme? That would probably make sense, right? They had a whole bunch of really powerful dragons, and since dragons are probably the most popular creature type, I would not put it past them. That should be pretty interesting, and that's going to come out in quarter 3, 2021. So whenever the core set came out this past summer, probably around the same time period. And I wonder if they're going to do like, since it's a crossover, I wonder if they're going to have maybe a Magic the Gathering flavoring and then a Dungeons and Dragons flavoring, or is just the flavor just so close that, you know, they won't do the type of thing that they did in Ikoria where they named a card, you know, a Magic the Gathering name, and then under it they named it the Godzilla name. Like, so are we going to have like a Beyonder card that's going to have a Magic the Gathering name, and then under it it's going to say Beyonder? Or do you think there'll just be like a card that like the Beyonder and not have an alternate name and just be a Dungeons and Dragons reference that just gets ported completely into Magic the Gathering? I guess time will tell. As we move forward, we should know more about where they're going with that type of crossover, and we're also probably going to find out whether core sets are going to continue to be a thing moving forward. I know they don't sell particularly well, but it's the core sets are really a really good place to put in cards that they want to reprint that may not fit the flavor of the worlds, because you can put any card into a core set. The flavor doesn't really need to make sense. So we'll see. And I wonder if they're going to have any high value reprints in this Magic the Gathering Dungeons and Dragons crossover. I definitely think they're going to reprint Bag of Holding. It was just too on target, too closely associated with Dungeons and Dragons to have a whole set and not have a card and not reprint the card Bag of Holding. Although I'm sure there's going to be a few cards that represent the flavor of a Bag of Holding. So we'll see. So after the core set, we're going to have Modern Horizons 2. Now, the first Modern Horizons, I think, sold really well. The issue behind Modern Horizons 1 was the power level of specifically one card, Hogak, which pretty much made like modern Dredge unbeatable. They banned Bridge from Below. The deck got better. So they banned a card from this deck because they didn't want to ban Hogak because Modern Horizons was still selling too well. So they banned a different card to try to lower the power level while still selling these Hogaks. And it didn't work because as soon as they banned Bridge from Below, people became more innovative, in fact, and they found out that the Bridge from Below variants were not as good as other variants. So things got worse. Dredge became an even better, bigger problem, and they eventually had to ban Hogak. But they waited so long because they were afraid of banning a card in the product that they were currently selling. And that seems to be a trend because I just saw the results of the latest like standard tournament, and a majority of the decks had Omnith, and he seems to be a really big problem in standard. The issue is Zendikar Rising has only been released in paper for like what, a week, 2 weeks now. So it would send a really bad message if they banned a card from the most recent set that hasn't been on sale for particularly long. So what they did is, just like in the situation with Hogak, instead of banning the actual problem card, they banned just a different card that's in the deck. So they banned the Uro, the green-blue Uro, the Titan. So basically, they're done selling Theros Beyond. Theros Beyond is not really selling like it was. So now they feel more comfortable banning the best card in that set as they switch focuses to Zendikar Rising and other upcoming products. Eventually, it seems like they're gonna have to address the issue with Omnith, as he's just omnipresent in standard, modern, legacy tournaments. So I would expect him to be banned in standard. I don't think he's going to be banned in other formats, but he does seem to be a problem. The big problem with him is that he's basically free, because as soon as you cast him, he draws you a card replacing himself, and then one of his abilities actually refunds the mana, the exact mana that you used to cast him. So anything else you're getting on top of that is free. So a little too strong. I think they thought that the fact that he was 4 colors was going to balance him, but when you're reprinting cards like Lotus Cobra, and the level of Cultivate and the level of ramp in standard has been just on another level, it seems like they're gonna have to address the Omnith issue sooner rather than later. So anyway, that was a long aside. What I was talking about was Modern Horizons 2, and then I started talking about Modern Horizons and Zendikar Rising and what's going on in Standard right now. But going back to Modern Horizons 2, the big thing that they revealed about Modern Horizons 2 is that they will be reprinting the enemy fetchlands at rare. So right away, I know that Modern Horizons 2 is going to have a ridiculous price tag on it. I bet you a box, even starting out, is going to be $200+. I don't think that this is going to solve the issue of there not being enough fetch lands to play Modern, and the price of fetch lands has gotten very ridiculous. I know they reprinted the fetch lands in a way in Zendikar Rising, and the fact that they're going to reprint them again next year would make you think that the price is going to drop significantly. But in the short term, yeah, I think the fetch lands, the enemy fetch lands, will go down in value, but they're just too big of a staple in Modern and other formats for their value to stay low. Like, they're always just going to have a high price tag. And the Secret Lair Ultimate Edition just kind of proves the point that when they do reprint these fetch lands, It's going to be not in a standard product, not in a product that costs $100, and that's why I don't think they wanted to reprint them in Commander Legends, because you can get a box of Commander Legends. I was able to get a box of Commander Legends for about $100, and they're not going to want to put fetchlands at rare in a product that costs $100 if some of these cards individually cost $50. The only way I see that these fetchlands are going to go down in value significantly is if they get banned in Modern. And since they're going to be reprinted in Modern Horizons 2, there is no intention of banning these cards in Modern. Even then, these cards still see play in Legacy and beyond. They're excellent cards. I actually do not have a lot of fetchlands because I don't want to collect these fetchlands because I know they're just gonna keep getting reprinted and reprinted and reprinted. So eventually I'll be able to get my hands on a few just because I'm a collector. So that's good. I don't know what else is gonna be in Modern Horizons 2. I don't know if they're gonna go in the same direction as Modern Horizons, or they're just gonna take a whole bunch of keywords and mix them together and throw them on cards. Are they going to make old references like they did in Modern Horizons 1 with Ursa and Yawgmoth? Are they going to print legendary creatures from Magic's past? I think these things are all definitely possible, but I am happy that they are reprinting these enemy fetchlands for those who, want them for decks and just can't obtain them. I just wish that the price of Modern Horizons 2 was lower. I also hope they don't mess up the modern environment like they did with Modern Horizons 1, which is why I was talking about Hogak. They have been doing a terrible job about setting power levels in both standard and modern. Ursa's seeing heavy play in modern decks. Hogak, before it was banned, saw heavy play. So I really don't trust them to create a product and then it has no effect or a limited effect or a good positive effect on any metagame. I really think that there's going to be a few broken cards that totally takes the modern format in a different direction, and I guess people don't really like that. I guess the good thing though about Hogak was that he was a rare. He was not mythic, so I hope that the best card in Modern Horizons 2 is at rare and not at mythic. The fetchlands being at rare is a good choice. They could have put them at mythic and then threw them in Commander Legends, I guess. But I guess they don't want to devote 5 mythic slots to lands, and then people would be in an outrage that they just up the rarity of these cards just because they see competitive play. So after the Modern Horizons 2, the sets to be released in Q4, the final quarter of 2021, is going to be another return to Innistrad, and everyone kind of expected it. They've gone to Zendikar 3 times now, and Innistrad is probably just as popular as Zendikar, or maybe even more popular than Zendikar, and same thing, and maybe just equally popular as the Ravnica sets. Those are probably the 3 main popular planes: Ravnica, Innistrad, and Zendikar. And Dominaria seems to be creeping up there. So the weird thing about this Innistrad set at Q4 is that there's going to be 2 sets released not at the same time but very close together. And one set is supposed to be based on werewolves, and one set is supposed to be on vampires. Even though Mark Rosewater has said that in the Innistrad sets, humans are the most popular tribe, So kind of weird to do a set where two sets where you're not even focusing on the most popular tribe in the set. So I'm going to talk a bit more about Innistrad in a future, the two Innistrad sets in a future upcoming video. But since there's not much information and those sets names are just placeholders, I'm going to stop right here. Thanks for watching. I'm getting a lot of great comments. I'm getting a lot of great advice. Please keep supporting. And once again, this is Magic with Class asking you to gather with class.